Welcome back to our channel, Coin History Vault. These Washington quarter dollar coins make people rich. Let's find out why. Don't miss out one of these. Who know a sigil coin make you rich? Let's start this. Coin 1. Today we are talking about a coin that most people have seen, many people have spent, and almost no one truly understands. A coin that quietly sits in drawers, jars, and old collections, yet carries one of the most dramatic stories in American coin history. The United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1965. This single year changed everything, and that is exactly why collectors listen very carefully when this coin is mentioned. Imagine the mid-1960s in America. Silver prices were rising fast, people were hoarding coins, and the United States Mint was facing a national coin shortage. For decades, Washington quarters were made of real silver, but in 1965, the government made a historic decision. From that year onward, quarters would no longer contain silver. They would be made from a copper and nickel-clad composition instead. This sounds simple, but the change created chaos inside the mint, and chaos is where rare coins are born. During this transition, old silver planchets, experimental blanks, and rushed production methods caused mistakes that were never meant to leave the mint. The 1965 Washington quarter became the first non-silver quarter ever released to the public, and that alone makes it historically important. But what truly excites collectors are the rare errors and unusual varieties that slipped through during this stressful period. One of the most legendary and valuable errors is the 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet. This coin looks almost identical to a normal quarter, but its weight, sound, and color tell a different story. These coins were never supposed to exist, yet a small number escaped into circulation. Finding one today is like discovering a hidden piece of forbidden history. Another highly desirable error is the double die variety. On some 1965 quarters, the lettering and numbers show doubling, especially in the words Liberty and In God We Trust. This doubling happened when the die was misaligned during the creation process. To the trained eye, this error is dramatic and beautiful, turning an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Off-center strikes are also seen from this year, where the design is visibly shifted, leaving part of the coin blank. These mistakes happen because of rushed minting speeds and poor alignment. Collectors love these coins because each one is unique, and no two errors look exactly the same. There are also coins with missing clad layers, where either the copper core or outer nickel layer failed to bond correctly. These coins look strange, feel different in the hand, and immediately catch attention. Because 1965 was the first year of clad coinage, bonding errors were more common, making these pieces especially important examples of early production problems. Condition matters greatly with this coin. Most 1965 quarters were heavily circulated, used daily, and worn down over time. High-grade examples with strong details, clean surfaces, and original mint luster are surprisingly hard to find. Collectors compete fiercely for coins that look untouched, as if they traveled through time without ever entering circulation. For coin lovers, this quarter represents more than money. It represents change, uncertainty, and a turning point in American history. It tells the story of when silver disappeared from everyday life and became something people suddenly wished they had saved. Holding a rare 1965 Washington quarter is like holding the exact moment the old era ended and the modern era began. So before you dismiss that old quarter as pocket change, take a closer look. Check the weight, examine the details, and listen to the sound it makes when dropped gently. You might be holding a coin that collectors dream about and historians admire. Now let us talk about value, because this is what everyone waits for. A normal circulated 1965 Washington quarter is usually worth only face value. A high-grade uncirculated example can sell for around $10 to $30 in the real market. A confirmed double die or major error coin can sell for several hundred to several $1,000s depending on condition. The extremely rare 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet has sold at auction for amounts reaching several $1,000s, and in exceptional cases, over $10,000 according to documented auction records. This is why collectors say, never ignore the ordinary-looking coins, because sometimes the most common year hides the rarest secrets. Coin 2. We open a new chapter in American coin history by focusing on a coin that almost everyone has held, yet very few truly understand. A coin born in silence, without a mint mark, without silver, and without any celebration, yet filled with hidden stories that collectors chase even today. The United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1967 is not just spare change. It is a survivor from one of the most confusing and fascinating periods in U.S. minting history. The year 1967 sits right in the middle of a national coin crisis. Silver had already disappeared from quarters just 2 years earlier, and people were still hoarding older coins, fearing inflation and shortages. To stop collectors from pulling coins out of circulation, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision. From 1965 to 1967, no coins would carry mint marks at all. This means every 1967 quarter, whether struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, looks the same. This decision alone makes the year extremely interesting to collectors. Because of rushed production and massive demand, quality control suffered. The mint focused on quantity over perfection, and that is where rare errors were born. Many 1967 Washington quarters show weak strikes, blurry details, and surface issues. While most of these are common, a few extreme errors are incredibly rare and highly valuable. One of the most exciting errors collectors search for is the double die obverse or reverse. On these coins, the lettering, date, or eagle details appear doubled, sometimes clearly visible without magnification. This happened when the die was impressed more than once at slightly different angles. When strong and clear, this error transforms an ordinary quarter into a treasure. Another prized variety includes off-center strikes. Some 1967 quarters were struck when the blank was not properly aligned, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent on the coin. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more collectors desire it, especially when the full date is still visible. Clad composition errors are also important for this year. The quarter was made of a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers, and sometimes these layers failed to bond correctly. Coins missing one clad layer look unusual, often showing a reddish or dull gray surface. These mistakes are rare and highly collectible because they reveal the inner structure of the coin. Die cracks, cuds, and retained die breaks are also found on 1967 quarters. These happen when the minting dies begin to crack or break but continue striking coins anyway. Raised lines, blobs of metal, or distorted edges appear on the coin, each one unique and impossible to replicate. Condition plays a huge role in value. Most 1967 quarters were heavily circulated and used for decades. Finding one with sharp details, strong luster, and no major marks is far harder than people expect. High-grade uncirculated examples, especially those with original mint brilliance, are chased aggressively by collectors building complete Washington quarter sets. For coin lovers, this quarter represents resilience. It comes from a time when the mint removed silver, removed mint marks, and removed beauty in favor of speed. Yet within that chaos, rare and beautiful mistakes were created. Holding a special 1967 quarter is like holding proof that even rushed history leaves behind RT.So the next time you see a quarter with no mint mark in a 1967 date, do not ignore it. Look closely at the letters, the edges, the surfaces, and the strike. What seems ordinary could be extraordinary. Now let us speak about value. A normal circulated 1967 Washington quarter is usually worth face value. A high-quality uncirculated example in the real market can be worth around $5 to $20. Strong double die errors, major off-center strikes, or missing clad layer coins can sell for several $100s. Exceptional and rare error examples have reached auction prices of over $1,000, and in top condition, some have sold for several $1,000s according to real auction results. This is why collectors always say, the quiet years often hide the loudest treasures. Coin 3, we travel into a year that many people overlook, yet serious collectors never ignore. A year that produced millions of quarters, but also quietly created some of the most fascinating errors and condition rarities of the modern Washington quarter series. The United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1973 may look ordinary at first glance, but behind that familiar design lies a story of minting pressure, hidden mistakes, and collector passion that continues to grow every year. By 1973, the United States Mint was deep into the clad era. Silver was long gone from circulating quarters, and coins were being produced at extremely high speeds to meet public demand. Washington quarters from this year were struck in Philadelphia and Denver, with San Francisco focusing mainly on proof issues. Because the mint was pushing production hard, small details were often sacrificed, and this is where opportunity appears for collectors. Most people think modern quarters cannot be rare, but rarity is not only about low mintage. It is about survival, condition, and mistakes. The 1973 Washington quarter is a perfect example. While millions were struck, very few remain today in top condition with full detail, strong luster, and clean surfaces. Many were immediately placed into circulation and used heavily, leaving high-grade examples surprisingly scarce. Errors are where this coin becomes truly exciting. One of the most searched for varieties is the double die error. On some 1973 quarters, collectors have discovered doubling in the date, the word Liberty, or the lettering on the reverse. This doubling can range from subtle to strong, and when clear, it dramatically increases desirability. Off-center strikes are another thrilling find. These occur when the coin blank is not properly aligned during striking. Parts of the design may be missing, leaving a curved blank area. The more dramatic the shift and the clearer the visible date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Each off-center strike tells a story of a single moment when the minting process went wrong. Clad layer errors are also important for this year. Because the quarter is made from bonded metal layers, failures sometimes occurred. Missing outer clad layers, partial bonding errors, and exposed copper cores can all be found on 1973 quarters. These coins immediately stand out in hand, both visually and in weight, making them favorites among error collectors. Die cracks and cuds are another area of interest. As minting dies wore down or cracked, they sometimes continued striking coins instead of being replaced. This created raised lines, breaks, or blobs of metal on the finished coin. Each one is unique, and some dramatic examples are highly collectible. Proof quarters from San Francisco also deserve attention. Proof coins were struck with specially prepared dies and polished blanks, creating mirror-like fields and sharp details. While proof 1973 quarters are not rare by mintage alone, pristine examples without haze, spots, or scratches are increasingly difficult to find today. For collectors, the 1973 Washington quarter represents the challenge of modern coin collecting. It teaches patience, attention to detail, and the importance of condition. It reminds coin lovers that even coins from recent decades can hide treasures when you know what to look for. When you hold a 1973 quarter, you are holding a piece of everyday American life from the 70s. It passed through gas stations, grocery stores, and vending machines. Yet somewhere along the way, a few escaped wear, a few were struck incorrectly, and those few became special. Before spending any old quarter, take a moment to look closely. Check the date, examine the edges, study the surfaces, and tilt it under light. Many collectors have discovered valuable coins simply by paying attention. Now let us talk about value. A normal circulated 1973 Washington quarter is usually worth face value. A high-grade uncirculated example in the real market can be worth around $10 to $40. Proof examples in excellent condition often sell for several dollars, with premium examples bringing more. Strong double die errors, missing clad layers, or dramatic off-center strikes can sell for several $100s. Exceptional error coins and top condition examples have reached auction prices of over $1,000, and in rare cases, several $1,000s according to real auction results. This is why collectors say, the most ordinary years often hide the most extraordinary surprises. Coin 4. We step into a year that many people casually ignore, yet dedicated collectors quietly respect. A year when America was changing socially, economically, and even in the way its money was made. The United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1974 may look like a normal pocket coin, but its story is deeper than most people ever imagine. This is a coin shaped by high-speed minting, worn dies, and small mistakes that turned ordinary metal into collector treasures. By 1974, the Washington quarter was firmly part of daily American life. The silver era was long gone, and clad coinage ruled circulation. Quarters were being produced in massive numbers at the Philadelphia and Denver mints to keep up with demand. San Francisco continued striking proof coins for collectors. Speed mattered more than perfection, and this pressure allowed unusual varieties and rare errors to escape into circulation. At first glance, the 1974 quarter appears common. Millions were minted, spent, and worn down. But rarity is not always about low mintage. It is about how many coins survived in special condition, and how many were born different. High-grade examples of this coin are far scarcer than people expect. Most were immediately circulated, scratched, and dulled by everyday use. Finding one today with sharp hair detail on Washington, strong eagle feathers, and bright original luster is a real challenge. Errors are where this coin truly comes alive for collectors. One of the most desirable finds is the double die variety. On certain 1974 quarters, doubling can be seen in the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." This doubling occurred when the die received multiple impressions slightly out of alignment. Strong examples are dramatic and easily visible, making them highly attractive to error collectors. Off-center strikes are another exciting category. These coins were struck when the blank was not properly centered between the dies. The result is a shifted design with a blank curved area. The more extreme the off-center strike and the clearer the visible date, the more desirable the coin becomes. Each one is a frozen moment of minting error, never to be repeated. Clad layer errors are also important for the 1974 quarter. Because these coins are made of multiple bonded metal layers, failures sometimes occurred. Some coins are missing an outer clad layer, exposing the copper core beneath. Others show partial bonding or peeling layers. These errors stand out immediately in hand and are highly sought after because they reveal the hidden structure of the coin. Die cracks, cuds, and retained die breaks add even more interest. As dies aged and cracked, some were not replaced quickly. Coins struck during this time show raised lines, metal blobs, or distorted edges. Each die break is unique, turning the coin into a one-of-a-kind artifact of minting stress. Proof quarters from San Francisco also deserve careful attention. Proof 1974 quarters were struck with specially prepared dies and polished blanks, creating deep mirror-like surfaces. While many proofs exist, finding examples free of haze, milk spots, or hairline scratches is becoming harder with time. Perfect proof coins are increasingly valued by collectors who demand quality. For coin lovers, the 1974 Washington quarter represents patience and knowledge. It teaches collectors to slow down, look closely, and appreciate details. It proves that even modern-era coins can be rare, valuable, and historically meaningful when condition and errors align. This coin traveled through a turbulent decade. It passed through the hands of millions, paid for everyday needs, and witnessed American life in motion. Yet a few were struck differently, a few were preserved carefully, and those few now stand apart from the rest. So the next time you see a 1974 quarter, do not rush to spend it. Turn it under the light. Study the letters, the edges, and the surface. Sometimes the smallest difference can mean the biggest surprise. Now we come to value. A normal circulated 1974 Washington quarter is usually worth face value. A high-grade uncirculated example in the real market can be worth around $10 to $50. Proof examples in excellent condition often sell for several dollars, with premium proofs bringing higher amounts. Strong double die errors, missing clad layer coins, or dramatic off-center strikes can sell for several $100s. Exceptional error examples and top-condition coins have reached auction prices of over $1,000, and in rare cases, several $1,000s according to real auction records. That is why experienced collectors always say, history hides its treasures in the details. Coin 5. We bring attention to a coin that most people overlook because it feels too modern to be special, yet serious collectors know that modern does not mean ordinary. The United States of America Washington quarter dollar 1991 P coin carries a quiet story of minting pressure, overlooked rarity, and surprising collector demand. This is the kind of coin that teaches an important lesson in numismatics. Sometimes value hides in plain sight. By 1991, the Washington quarter had already been part of American life for decades. These coins moved quickly through stores, gas stations, vending machines, and pockets across the nation. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of quarters this year, and because of that large number, most people assume every 1991 P quarter is common. But coin collecting is never that simple. What matters is not only how many were made, but how many survived in special condition and how many were struck with unusual characteristics. Production speed was extremely high during this period. The Mint focused on output, not perfection. Dies were used longer than ideal, and quality control allowed small mistakes to pass through. This environment created the errors and varieties that collectors search for today. One of the most exciting discoveries for this coin is the double die error. On certain 1991 P quarters, collectors have identified doubling on the date, the word Liberty, or parts of the reverse design. Sometimes the doubling is subtle and requires magnification. Other times it is strong enough to catch the eye immediately. These coins were created when the die received more than one impression at slightly different angles, locking the mistake permanently into the metal. Off-center strikes are another fascinating category. These occur when the blank planchet is not properly aligned during striking. The result is a shifted design with a curved blank area. If the date remains fully visible and the off-center strike is dramatic, collectors become very interested. Each off-center coin represents a single moment of failure in a high-speed minting process. Clad layer errors also exist for this year. The quarter is made from a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. Occasionally, these layers did not bond correctly. Some coins show missing outer layers, exposing copper beneath. Others display partial separation or unusual textures. These coins look and feel different, immediately standing out to experienced collectors. Die cracks, die chips, and cuts add even more variety. As dies wore down, cracks formed and sometimes pieces broke away. Coins struck afterward show raised lines, blobs, or distortions. These errors are popular because no two look exactly the same, making each coin unique. Condition plays a massive role in the 1991 P quarter's value. Most examples were heavily circulated and show wear, scratches, and dull surfaces. Finding one today with sharp details on Washington's hair, clean fields, and strong original luster is far more difficult than people expect. High-grade uncirculated coins are scarce and increasingly desirable, especially as collectors complete date and mint sets. For modern coin collectors, this quarter represents the thrill of the hunt. It proves that you do not always need to search ancient coins or precious metals to find something special. Knowledge, patience, and careful observation can turn everyday change into a meaningful discovery. This coin also represents American life in the early 1990s. It passed through countless hands, witnessed a changing economy, and quietly did its job without attention. Yet a few were struck differently, a few were preserved carefully, and those few now stand apart as collectible pieces of history. So the next time you see a 1991 P quarter, do not dismiss it. Look closely at the letters, the edges, and the surface. Tilt it under light and examine every detail. Many collectors have built impressive collections simply by paying attention to coins others ignored. Now let us talk about value. A normal circulated 1991 P Washington quarter is usually worth face value. A high-grade uncirculated example in the real market can be worth around $5 to $25. Strong double die errors, missing clad layer coins, or dramatic off-center strikes can sell for several $100s. Exceptional error examples and top-condition coins have reached auction prices of over $1,000, and in rare cases, several $1,000s according to real auction results. This is why experienced collectors always say, knowledge turns common coins into uncommon treasures.